I was on a family trip when I was 10 years old with my mom and dad to see a country show. Alabama was playing at the Buck Lake Ranch. It was 100 degrees and the sun was going down and my ice cream had just unflopped on the ground, so I was eating what was left of the cone that was still in my hand. We were standing around waiting for the show to start, just outside of this little park. Folks were coming in from everywhere to find their seats. Then somewhere in the rush of a hillbilly crowd came this rumble that damn near shook the whole ground. And that's when it started, oh, I never will forget. This motley of a crew was raising up a fit. They had tattoos and scars and they were cussing and spitting. That's when my old man said, fellas, we got a family over here. Well, they all kind of stared at each other a while, and right about then I saw one of them smile. Then they all broke out in laughter and burst into tears. They sure got a kick out of my poor old dad and his brand new Dockers and his shirt of plaid. But getting their kicks is just what they were looking for anyway. Well, they stood up together and they all gathered round and they took turns looking my dad up and down. Then one monster of a man said, "What you gonna do about it?" Now my dad had a legend the size of Alaska. He was known for kicking ass from here to Nebraska, but since becoming a family man, he'd settled down a little bit. He wasn't very big, but his faith was strong, and he'd been slinging lumber for God knows how long, and you just knew this wasn't gonna turn out like it should. You could tell by the look he had in his eye that he knew to walk away, but he just couldn't this time, and you could almost feel his blood as it began to boil. He turned to us and said, "Go wait in the car." Mom said, "Gary, now we've come too far. Let's just go find a seat, sit down and enjoy the show." Well, he turned back to glance at the group and he reckoned, "Just go on to the car, this won't take but a second." Well, that was it. Mama, she just took me by the hand. And I remember thinking, what the hell's he doing? It's 10 against 1. Who's he think he's fooling? Well, then what happened next, as they say, is history. We walked toward the lot and he walked into hell. Before I could blink, well, the first one fell, and they swallowed him up like a pack of wild hyenas. There was a clang and a clash, and I heard a bottle break, and then somehow one old boy ended up with a rake, and with the flick of the wrist, Dad stuck it where the sun don't shine. It sounded like applause coming from a dust cloud. For a second I was worried he might not make it out. Then I heard, and I knew that he was doing just fine. Yeah, fists were swinging and elbows were flailing, and when it was all said and done, those bikers were hightailing, and a big blur of leather passed us like a bat out of hell. Well, we just reached the car when Mom turned around. The dust was just settling back to the ground. There stood Dad in a graveyard of kicked ass. It happened so fast we barely unlocked the van. It was over and done by the time it began, so we just locked her right back up, headed back towards Dad. There were a couple 100 yards between us and him, and as we got close, the scene looked pretty grim. There were 6 or 7 bodies laid out there on the ground. He had a little scratch right there in his chin, and there was quite a bit of blood, but none of it was his. And I couldn't help but notice that his shirt was still tucked in. The transformation's what took me aback. He gave us a hug. Just like that, we were headed off towards the stage, and not a word was said. Well, the show was a hit. Everyone loved the band, but all I could do was just stare at my old man, replay that whole scenario again in my head. But needless to say, from that day on, it didn't take a lot for me to have my homework done, or the trash cleaned, or the lawn mowed, or the house painted up. It was straight A's from there on out. I said yes ma'am and sir, and kept a watch on my mouth, and I did everything I could to make sure I stayed on his good side. Well, that's about it as far as I can remember. I still can't get over the wrath of his temper. Boy, if you could have only seen the things that I saw that day. To know him now, hell, you wouldn't believe me. He's a man of few words with his heart on his sleeve, but I'm giving you all fair warning of what lies beneath. Oh, he'd much rather love you if you choose to let him, but you can bet he'll beat you if you ever bet him. He's a soft-hearted soul with an anvil for a right hand. And now the years have flown, and Dad's a little older, but there's still a lot of fire in them Centrum Silver shoulders, and if you think his day is past, well, you're on your own.
3 feet tall and full of questions. You must have thought I was the smartest man alive, and I didn't have all the answers to every little how and where and why. Like, Daddy, why's the sky so blue today? Does Jesus really hear me when I pray? When I grow up, will I be just like you? Will I be tall and strong and brave? There is no power on earth like your Father's love, so big and so strong as your Father's love. A promise that's sacred, a promise from heaven above. No matter where you go, always know you can depend on your Father's love, especially when it's cold, especially when you're lonely, when your little heart's just trying to find its way. And I know the world is always changing, but remember, son, some things never change. Even when my life on earth is through, there will still be a part of me in you. 'Cause some things are forever, nothing's ever gonna take my love from you. There is no power on earth like your Father's love, so big and so strong as your Father's love. A promise that's sacred, a promise from heaven above. Did I hug enough? Did I care enough when you most needed me? Was I there enough to make you feel the power of your Father's love? Father's love, Father's love, your Father's love, Father's love, Father's love, Father's love.
From the start, you were first. He loves you at your worst. He'll do anything. A father, he shows you what love is. Saw your dreams before you did. He'll give everything. my